So a lot of you guys will ask us, how long does it take to do all the chores that we have here on our small homestead? And I think that's a pretty good question, and although we've never truly timed it out, we feel like we have a good idea. But today, let's time it and let's see how long it truly takes. Let's get going. The morning chores has to start with our pigs. They're the loudest animal in the morning, begging us for the food, so it's good to get them quiet before all the other animals. Since it's summertime now and it gets really hot, we get our hose, I hook it up onto our fence, and it sprays directly into their pool that we have inside their area. This will allow them throughout the day to have water they could drink, or if they just want to roll around in to cool down. We also have little waters that we have throughout their pen as well, but this big pool has made a big difference in making sure that they have something to always cool down in and making sure they always have water access. Then it's time to go greet the pigs and tell them good morning, say hi to them, and make sure they get their feed for the day. When we first started feeding these pigs, we only had one bowl for them to eat out of, but they started getting too aggressive, so we always make sure we have at least 2 bowls in there so that they can eat separately, but they still like to bounce back and forth throughout the feeds. But making sure they have their food and water is the first thing we do. This will allow the farm chores to be not as loud since the pigs won't be squealing, begging for food the rest of the time. Next, it's time to go over to our chicken tractor, which is full of red rangers. These are our meat birds for the year for us. I need to take their feeder and their water out of the tractor so that I am able to pull it onto a fresh piece of grass. We want to make sure we at least do this once every 24 hours, and sometimes we've even done it twice during that time period because the older they get, the more they eat, the more they poop. So moving them onto fresh grass is even more important, but at least once every 24 hours. Now that they're on their new piece of grass, I'm going to grab their feeder, put it back inside their chicken tractor, and then I'm going to walk over to our bucket so that they can get their feed for the morning. And as soon as you go to walk around that tractor, they start following you, and you pour that food into their feeder, and these birds go crazy for the feed. You can see why these birds are used for meat birds, because they like to eat and they grow really quick. At this point now, our pig pool is probably full. We can now grab the hose and turn it off so that we can go over to our chicken water for those red rangers, dump out their old water, and give them fresh, clean water for the day. This is something that we like to do at least every 2 days, but if we can do it every day, we would like to do that. But once every 2 days is kind of the important thing so that they always have access to cleaner, fresher water. So now the chicken tractor's been moved, they have their food and water. They're gonna be all set for the morning. We don't have to worry about them. While we have the hose now, we're gonna walk over to our newest addition, our rooster coop, and we're gonna make sure that they get their water. And then we're gonna go back to that trash can, get the food for the roosters. They don't need much because there's only 3 roosters in there right now. And then we're gonna dump a little bit of feed for them, and that's all we really gotta do for them. Our rooster coop has been the newest addition to our morning chores, but they don't take much effort at all. Now, let's grab this hose, and we're gonna walk all the way over to our egg-laying flock of chickens. This one newly has had extra chickens in it since we just hatched them out and added the new flock in. So what used to be 14 chickens in this area is now 21, so there's a lot more chickens. We dump out any of the old water for them and then making sure we give them their new water for the day. And then we're gonna dump their feed. Unfortunately, our feeder was built more when we only had the 14 chickens, so now, along with putting food in their feeder, we also have to lay food out around the ground so that all of them can eat at once and it doesn't cause any fights. It's been nice adding to the flock and seeing more chickens in there and different varieties of chickens, but there is 3 roosters now inside this flock, and they can get pretty noisy in the morning. Roosters crow all day, but in the morning is probably the worst time. Now it's time to walk over to our garden. And the first thing we do before worrying about anything with the garden is I walk over to go see our bunny, who we like to call Bun Bun. I make sure that Bun Bun has fresh food and water, and also I make sure that she gets a nice love and petting for the morning. She absolutely loves coming to say hi to us when we go see her. Now lastly, it's time to tend to the garden. The garden is definitely the longest part of our morning chores, but we do know that you're not supposed to water in direct sunlight, so that's why we always make sure that we water early in the morning. Watering this whole garden by hand and making sure we do it nice and thoroughly, it can definitely take a toll on your morning chores. The good thing is, it is so cool looking around the garden. What better feeling than being around all this living thing and stuff that we're producing ourselves? It makes it a little bit easier to be around it all and take this time to water the garden. And also, on a side note, it makes us happy that we have well water where we don't have to worry about the water bill as much, because it would be expensive for all the water that we have filled with the pig pool, all the animals' waters this morning, and then to water this whole entire garden. It is one of those things that, since it takes such a long time, it does make you wonder and try to work harder. How can we cut this time where it doesn't take us as long? But honestly, this is our second year gardening, and our garden has been one of my favorite things on our homestead this year, if not our favorite. I used to think that nothing was gonna beat the chickens, but I think the garden is getting there. So I enjoy my time in the garden. I'm not gonna complain too much about it. All right, stop the clock. So as you can see, it takes us anywhere from about 25, 26 minutes to get all these morning chores done here. And I mean, that's not even everything that we need to do for these animals sometimes. Like, the chicken coop right now probably needs to get cleaned out, but I'll just wait till tomorrow to do it. This time around, we didn't have to move the rooster coop to a new piece of grass, or like collecting the chicken eggs. Those are all things that we didn't have to necessarily do right now, but there are things sometimes that get added onto this. And a lot of you guys might be thinking right now is, why would I want to wake up and have to do work for 25 minutes every single day? And it may be 25 minutes of our day, but I'm telling you, it is one of the best 25 minutes spent. To realize all the hard work and the hands-on work we're doing with our animals or the garden here behind me. And it is just such a truly rewarding and just such a nice feeling out here to come out and do the chores. They're called chores. I don't think of them as chores. I just think of them as being a part of nature with our animals in the garden. And it is such a relaxing feeling out here to be able to do work with them. So you can see the difference in the routine. Like, things with the chickens takes no time. I come out here, we don't have to open up the coop door at all because we have an automatic coop door that allows them to get out of the coop and closes them at nighttime, so that's something less that we don't have to worry about. So all we're really doing is making sure they have food, some fresh water, and then letting them carry on with their day. We'll check on the eggs here in a little bit later on today, but not much work. But then you saw the garden, and because of the size of our garden and the way that we maintain it, and what I mean by that is watering it with a hose by hand, it takes a lot of time to maintenance this whole garden and get it watered. One way we could cut a lot of time on this, and it's something that I'm thinking about doing, is setting up an irrigation system that will water this garden for us, because it does take a long time out of the morning to deal with it. I would say the only negative thing is that our garden's big, but it's not bigger than other people's gardens out there, where when I'm watering it by hand, I like that I can actually watch and see everything that's growing and how much it's grown from yesterday, and is there pests eating at this plant, or this thing's not growing that well. It allows you to really know what's going on when you're that close with it. So I would fear that an irrigation system would allow us not to notice those things as well, so we just have to make sure if we do have one that we still come out and take a look at them. I would really miss out on doing these chores, and I know there's a lot of you guys out there that think, do you want to live like this? Is this something that you want to do and you're afraid that it's too much work? It is work, and I will never say that it is not hard work. But when hard work is rewarding, I think it's 100% worth it. So you guys have a great day and a better tomorrow, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
And we'll see you guys in the next one.